When it comes to this game, my account is fairly strong. I mean, I got some pretty solid awakenings. I'm almost at like 20,000 summons. Oh, no, I'm past 20,000 summons now. Holy cow. I've been playing for approaching 2 years, and yet still, when we go to the gear raids, the new gear raids, I literally cannot do most of them. Gear raid 2, I'm missing every single viable DPS. No Ardia, no Lubu, no Eris, no pretty much everything that I need for DPS. So you would think that I'm also lacking in my other gear raids. But no, I have beaten the second hardest stage in this entire game, largely because of some secret strategies that truly make this so much easier than it used to be back when it was cleared for the first time. And you guys can do it too, as long as you have the units, and you don't really need the awakenings, honestly. So I'm going to break it down for you guys today, the way to use the Cerberus strat, and just simply how to maximize 124 in general. And yes, this works for lower stages. Just obviously, you could do more substitutions the lower the stages that you're at. And also keep in mind that once the gem update comes out, you can make a lot more substitutions because simply gear will be better, right? Right now, you do have to kind of be limited in the options, but realistically, without Cyrus, this becomes pretty tough. But if you use, once again, the server strat, it becomes easily. So I gotta give massive credits to Normies for massively helping me out on this team, creating the server strat in the first place. And I want to break it down for you guys today. So without further ado, let's get right into it. The first thing we're going to do when we're going to get into this is we're putting down Vierna. Vierna is the single best DPS for this. Her executes really help because the mobs have such high HP. Then we're going to have Eluin. This allows her to cycle her Wood Elves a little bit faster, giving us more cost, while also giving Vierna the inspiration, or the invigoration, sorry. Then we do Magda. We cycle our Wood Elves for some cost. We do Beelzebub to boost Magda as well. And then we do Cerberus immediately in the front, which is a little weird, but it's what we need to do. Then we're going to put Ymrit down. Ymrit's just going to chill there. And we're going to immediately place Bubba. This is just so Bubba can get his ult back a little bit sooner when we get later into the fight. And also, Bubba needs to be active by the time you click Cerberus ult and Cerberus dies. And what you're going to see here is everything freaking dies because Cerberus does so much damage. Then we're going to Vierna execute and clear that wave just fine. Now we can Magda ult, and what this does is it actually pushes everyone back. Also, previously you saw me place Morgan facing up, and this deals damage to the guys in the top right, which allows them to get targeted by the boss. So the boss actually tries to heal them instead of healing the main group we're dealing damage to, and it actually helps us kill it very easily. Very important there. Then we're going to place down our Morgan in the same spot, like I mentioned, and we're going to click all of our ults that we can to kill this wave. We have to kill this wave as soon as possible. It's very important. Now, the heal is not going to go towards those enemies because Morgan's hitting in the top right. Super important. Something not a lot of people understand. And we have to get our Cerberus ult as soon as possible. Click Beelzebub, click Cerberus, and then have Cerberus die. It's very important that he ults and dies around the same time because he is wearing Hell's Lament. I'll go over the gear in a bit. And we also need to make sure that Beelzebub is active. Because when he dies, Inspo actually still takes effect. And you're going to see here that almost everything's freaking dead. Already, most of the enemies are low HP. Now, from this point, it's mostly just spamming ults, using the ults, smart, making sure that you alternate your Boreas, your Ymrit ults, you use Artemis ult right as the heal starts to go out. There you can see that Venoma actually hitting to the right distracts the heals. And that's so important. It's such a big innovation that Normies did, which is crazy, which is essentially damaging people on the side to manipulate the heals. And I didn't know you could do that for the longest time. That's probably the biggest thing that happens in this run, apart from the server strat, of course. But beyond this point, it's really just clicking our ults, because once the main group has died, it becomes pretty easy. Now, Obviously, this is not a gimme at this point. It is still very possible to fail. Um, but realistically, I mean, this is going incredibly well, right? We're just going to click Vierna, try to do the big execute. We're going to use Boreas Assault just to end up proccing the anti-heals. We're going to click Magda. We're going to click Beelzebub as soon as he's up. Cerberus goes down and dies. Cerberus coming up a third time, doing an astronomically high amount of damage, and really just cooking, if we're being honest. Now we're just going to click our ults and basically pray that we don't die. Now, if you have Cyrus, you should absolutely use Cyrus. Better Lord skill than Monoma by a lot, but Cyrus can also be used to stall the boss at the end. But here, because we don't have that, we have to click all of our ults and just try to do enough damage to survive. And it's not a given that we live beyond this point. There have been a couple runs where it's a loss by just a little bit, but essentially, as long as we are able to do enough damage, we're going to win. Right here, Beelzebub, Boreas, and Vierna go out, and we have won. Now, of course, strategy and everything is all good, but how do you gear your team for this? Well, let's start with Cerberus, who is the main highlight here, doing the most damage. Cerberus is going to be in Hell's Lament. This is because with this specific Cerberus strategy, he's always going to be ulting right before he dies, which means Hell's Lament is actually the single best set for this. And you could also put a Cursed Cultist exclusive. He does not need attack speed, so you just want to look for attack bonus, crit damage, crit rate, nothing else is needed. Something like this, we have the exclusive on just for 10% more damage, essentially. We have the best Hell's Lament pieces. They're good pieces. I have very good hammer luck. But realistically, this is kind of what you want to aim for. And then over here, no attack speed, obviously. And that is the Cerberus pieces. Now, I don't have his exclusive artifact, otherwise I would be using it. Instead, we have Eye of Sin, just because of what I have, right? Next, we go over to Ymrit. Ymrit is in kind of a weird build. He's in basically whatever exclusive ring you have. Cultist, Esso, Infernal, doesn't matter as long as you have any exclusive ring, and then you could run whatever else. Or you could run Soulbound with as much DPS as you can. Here I got a little bit of Rage Regen and then a quad on the left. Frigid Flame as well, which brings me to Magda as well, which is also in Frigid Flame. So Frigid Flame, when no one is taking damage, is the single best artifact. Right here, you can see that Eye of Sin is 20% damage, and then when you kill an enemy, it grants an extra 10% AoE damage. This is worse than the 33% basically permanent Frigid Flame boosts. And also with Magda, you want to build her as DPS as possible. Now, I don't have any pieces that look like this. Attack percent main, the 3 relevant substats, and then with the flat attack. Now, this is what you want to look for. I have a single piece that looks like it, but for my account, I simply don't have that many pieces when it comes to Soulbound, so I just went with Rage Regen. Obviously, the best pieces I had. You don't need to do Rage Regen at all. Just go with whatever is strongest. Next, we have a quad here on the left, and a quad as well. Just as much damage as you can. Your gear doesn't need to be as good, but it is definitely recommended. Beelzebub, moving on to him, is in Wings of Grace with as much attack and attack speed as possible, and a Tear of Twilight. Next, we have Vierna. Vierna's is very important. So we have a cultist exclusive. It does not need to look like this. You basically just want to go with attack bonus, and then crit rate, crit damage. Cultist exclusive. The other 2 stats literally don't matter. It's just what I have as BP for my Yrden. Then we have whatever the strongest piece possible is, and then once again the strongest piece possible. Now this is where it gets a little confusing, because Vierna does actually have an exclusive, which you should be using. But for my account, simply none of these have HP on them, and Vierna kept dying. So instead, we broke all the rules, put HP bonus on. I do not recommend it. I recommend sticking with Vierna exclusive. Just keep in mind you need a sizable amount of HP. Speaking of, we got HP here, and we got a quad here as well. Just the best pieces I have. Obviously, Crown of Souls, even at base, is best for her. Next, we move on to Elowen. Elowen is going to have Invig. Basically, a lot of it, attack speed, attack, healing effect is basically all we need. Golden Scarab, or you can alternatively use a healer one like Elysian Epitaph, Tia's Bomb, or Euphoric Orb. Really does not matter at all. Moving on to Boreas, we basically went all HP on Soulbound, just as much HP as possible. Pieces on the left are not good, but the HP is all that matters. Tear of Twilight, of course. I went over Ymir already. Then we get to Artemis, which I don't recommend this build. I recommend going with Soulbound, but this one is in big. Now he is A1, so you don't really need as much. You don't need as much crit rate as usual. You know, he is ultimately there to keep people alive as well as anti-heal. Simply, this gives him a lot of rage regen, and it makes it so he heals a bit better, which ends up being slightly more valuable. Just keep in mind that you don't need to build it. If you want damage, you can do Soulbound instead. The thing is, we got Boreas and Yumi for anti-healing, and Artemis for anti-healing, so we don't need as much as you would think. And then Morrigan is in Soulbound. Doesn't really matter about the pieces. And then Venoma is in Morale, just in case she needs it. That is the gear. That is a team. That is how you do it. I hope this helps someone out there. I know that this is still kind of whale territory. Like, not everyone's going to have all of these units. Not everyone's going to have them awakened. Not everyone's going to have the gear. But this is something to work towards. After the gear update, it'll be much easier. And if you are able to do it, this is the easiest way to do it. Now, you could do substitutions. Like, instead of Ymir, you could run a Thalon. You could run a, really any other DPS, you know, Eris. Instead of, you know, Magda, you could try to run something else. But realistically, for 24, the second hardest stage in the game, this is what you have to do. But if you're doing an earlier stage, you can do things a lot more limited. Anyways, with that out of the way, thank you guys so much for watching. Like and subscribe, all of that jazz. And that's it from me. Destined signing out.